Online Supercoach podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Victor Dedaj. He is a global entrepreneur. He's a success coach, a health and wellness coach, a network marketer, and an author. So, welcome, Victor.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, Dennis. It's really good to be here.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Well, we always like to start off on the show asking our guests if you have like a quote or a mantra or a phrase that that really inspires you to get you going.
Yeah, one phrase I like using is "I always find a way" because it goes to my subconscious mind, and no matter what kind of adversity I come across, what kind of problems, it will make sure that I will find a way to get through it or solve the problem.
That is really powerful. That's really good. Exactly. Like so many times you're dealing with so much stuff and you know what, just look into yourself to figure it out. I like that. I really like that. So based on your resume, it sounds like you are like this modern renaissance man. Like you're into a little bit so much of everything. You're like a serial entrepreneur. So why don't you how did you get your start in in entrepreneurship, and tell us a little bit about like your like a quick brief like career chronology of what you've done.
Sure. I was in the corporate world for many years. I worked in operations, and I was a performance analyst for many years. And starting in 2008, I was starting to get tired of it because after the market crash of 2008, things got really cutthroat in the business world. So, make a long story short, a few years later, I got let go, and I actually did not feel too bad because I was really tired of it. And I took a little break and decided to go into entrepreneurship. I tried a bunch of different things. I went back and forth, did some network marketing, e-commerce, whole bunch of different things. And like with any entrepreneurial journey, the first couple of years, you make so many mistakes because you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. So it's a learning process. And then I started getting some mentors who taught me what I needed to do to stop making fewer mistakes. And I got myself certified as a success coach by Jack Canfield about 5 years ago. A couple of years ago, I got certified as a health and wellness coach. And I went back and forth between network marketing and e-commerce. And then I went back to network marketing a few years ago because I do love the industry. So my focus, and of course, I've also written a book and co-written several other books. But my focus the last several years has been network marketing, success coaching, and uh, health coaching. So I try to focus on those three things because, like you said, you can't spread yourself out too thin.
So what was that? The one you just said, network marketing? Is that what you said?
Yeah, network marketing, success coaching, and health and wellness coaching.
So what is network marketing exactly?
Very simply, it's just a way of people. It's a network distribution where you get products or services to other people. Usually, it's through word of mouth. And a lot of times people buy through a store. This way, you cut out the middleman. So if I have a product and service, I can get it to you or to someone else, and it's really through word of mouth advertising. So it's really just getting it to the people, and the way it works also, and the way the payment structure works, it's kind of similar to the way real estate brokers get paid because you also not only do you get products and services to other people, but you also bring people into the business. So you bring someone in and you help them to build their business, and then you help someone who joins that person underneath. So there could be several different levels, which is why sometimes it's also called multi-level marketing because you get paid on several different levels, and you get a piece of a commission from each of those people on your downline. Kind of similar to the way a real estate broker and agent get paid. So that's pretty much the way network marketing works.
So it's like are you affiliated with any of those BNI groups or anything like that?
I've done it in the past. BNI works, and I'm a big fan of networking. Because there's a saying, your network is your net worth. So the more people you network with, the better. You can never have too many friends, too many contacts, too many connections, because this is a people and relationship business, and the more relationships you build, the better.
I love that. Your network is your net worth. That could have been another quote that you had.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about a success coach. What is a success coach exactly?
Well, I got certified by Jack Canfield. For those who do not know who he is, he became famous in the 90s by co-authoring the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, which was the number 3 book in the 1990s, and the whole book series has sold over 500 million copies worldwide. And so he's actually the number one all-time nonfiction best-selling author because he's authored and co-authored many books. And then after Chicken Soup for the Soul, he wrote The Success Principles, which is also a best-selling book. And he has a course on teaching the success principles. So it's a very intense course. He spent 2 weeks with it. The first week is they had 2 weeks live with him, and also does an online portion as well. So going through all that, you have to give a bunch of talks, and it's very intense, and you learn a lot. It's because there's a lot of practical hands-on experience. He teaches you how to talk to people, how to do presentations, and he teaches you the success skills. You can read the book, but actually in these events, you also apply it, and there's a big difference between theory and practice, and
Right.
that's one of the things people do not understand about success. You can read about everything, but until you apply it, nothing really changes. The biggest learning is in the doing.
Right. Right. So as a success coach, like what do you like how do you interact with your clients and what is it exactly that you help them with?
Well, I find that for the vast majority of people, it's a mental breakdown. It's a mindset issue. A lot of times, people know most of the things that they need to do, but they don't do it. For example, most people, if they want to lose weight, they know what they need to do.
Yeah.
Eat fewer
Stop
calories,
eating.
processed foods, all that stuff. But it's what's in between. So the first thing you teach, and the first thing Jack teaches in his book is take 100% responsibility, because you will find very few people do that. They like to blame everything else for their problems, but until you take full responsibility, nothing will change. And all the other success principles follow from it. And because here's the thing, Jack has an equation: E plus R equals O. The event plus the response equals outcome. And a lot of times people think it's the event that determines your life. It's not. It is your response to that event. A lot of times people have the same event happen to them, but because they have different responses, they have a different outcome. And once they do realize that, everything changes. So you got to realize your power lies in the response to whatever happens to you. Some things you have no control over that happen to you, but you have power in your response. And a lot of people don't understand that, because when you take 100% responsibility, you go from having an external locus of control, meaning that outside forces determine what happens to you, to having an internal locus of control, which means you decide your outcome.
So essentially, I think what you're saying, so first of all, those are you keep spitting out all these great other lines here. Take 100% responsibility. Event plus response equals outcome. You can the treasure trove of all of these things. So essentially, as a success coach, you're trying to keep them accountable for their own actions and have them look inward instead of outward as far as how to pull themselves out of wherever they are, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to have someone hold you accountable, especially if you have your own business. Because here's the thing, when you're at a job, very often your boss holds you accountable. But if you're starting your own business, very often you have no one to hold you accountable. So
Absolutely.
you either need to have a coach to hold you accountable, or you can get an accountability partner. Because when you have someone you have to meet up with once or twice or 3 times a week, they're not going to accept any excuses from you. So definitely being held accountable is a huge part of success. There are many other things. A lot of people don't know their numbers, for example. And if you don't know what you want, how many people you're talking to, how many sales you're getting, how many leads you get, if you don't know any of that, then you don't know how to improve, because what gets measured gets managed. So you also have to know your numbers. You'd be amazed how people do not know their numbers.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, 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 really great stuff. So, as a what type of people would make sense to get a coach or a mentor, or because it's kind of like a mentor too, basically, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So for most people, if you're trying to improve, you're trying to get better, you move up in most professions, the vast majority of successful people have some sort of mentor or coaches. Athletes have mentors and coaches. The top athletes in the world all have coaches, because they can see things that you can improve that you can't. It's always good to have another eye look at it. And because, what we see is very limited. And every successful business person, every successful entrepreneur, they all have coaches. And a lot of people say, is it worth the money? And here's the thing, You could try to figure out all these things on your own, but it could take you 5, 10, 15 years. A coach will decrease that time frame by 10 to 15 times. So in most cases, is it worth paying a coach for a year to save you 10 years of frustration, stress, and hassle?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I find this very interesting because a lot of our audience are mostly, trainers and coaches, and they are many of them, work for themselves. They either have their own studios, they go in persons, or what have you. So this is great advice for the trainers, and they are their own entrepreneurs. And in my experience, working in the fitness industry for the last 20 plus years, a lot of trainers like the fact of being a trainer because they're independent. They can pick and choose when they want to work, and they can ebb and flow when they want to hustle. But sometimes that almost is as much of a blessing. It's also it hurts them because they're not, no one's really prodding them to do a few more sessions or work a little bit more or do anything like that. So again, don't get me wrong, a lot of trainers, they bust their butts off and they work really really hard, all of 24/7, early morning, late at night, absolutely. But you also get those guys who just sometimes they ramp it up when when they need to ramp it up, not necessarily just super self-motivated, and I think that's what separates some of the great trainers from um, the great fitness professionals from maybe some of the lesser ones. So if you're in somewhere in between category, maybe like that type of success coach is something that makes sense for you too. What if you can't afford a mentor or a success coach?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, what you can do is then you can watch videos online. There's plenty of great stuff on YouTube, for example. You can read books, and you can do stuff like that in the beginning until your financial situation is a little bit better. That's what most people
Right.
do. I did that starting off. There's a lot of great stuff there just starting. Because this is the thing, the first thing you need to do is work on your subconscious mind. It makes 95% of your decisions. And the best times to work on, the times it is most impressionable, is the first hour in the morning and the last hour before you go to bed, because that's when it's very impressionable. That's when you should be feeding it the most. So what I recommend is in the morning, watch those videos, read those books, do prayer, gratitude. There's a lot of great things you can do to work on getting better. And then you can read those great books. Here's the thing: you don't need to read 150 pages a day. If you read 10 pages of a good book every single day, in the course of 1 year, you will have read 3,650 pages.
Oh,
And I can
wow.
guarantee you, reading all those pages in 1 year will make a difference. People um, think they need to do everything overnight. The important thing is you need to be consistent.
Right.
Consistency will beat intensity every day of the year because it compounds over the long term. So again, so do those things every single day on a consistent basis, and watch a year from now, uh, you'll be amazed how much better that you are. Here's the thing: most people do not read books. The average person reads one book a year. The average CEO reads 4 to 5 books a month, which is about 50 to 60 books a year. It's one of the reasons why they're CEOs and most other people are not, because they're working on improving themselves every single day. They're consistent.
Well, staying consistent and keep going consistently every day is something that should resonate with all the trainers, right? We always talk about working out, and it's all about just staying consistent. It's You'll have good workouts, you have bad workouts, you have great energy some days, you have good pumps some days, and you have off days. But the important thing is to just keep coming in and keep checking that box even on the bad days. So I think that this message that it really resonates with our audience for sure. And even the subconscious mind stuff is really interesting because I had a guest on a few months ago, Craig Ballantyne, and he wrote a book, The Perfect Day and Perfect Week Formula, and he talks exactly about that, about the best time of day to kind of work. It kind of fluctuates with different people, but he mentioned that same thing, that in the first hour or so when you first wake up is when your mind is really really racing. So that's a really really good time to kind of get going with some of those things. So that's all really really good stuff, and we keep hearing the same stuff over and over again. How is so do you agree that, like, how important is it to invest in yourself?
It is extremely important. Here's the thing: you have to look at yourself as a stock. You invest in a stock of a company if you think it's good, it's worth to invest in. And you got to think of yourself the same way. If you don't invest in yourself, you got to wonder, how good do I feel about myself? Do I really think it's worth investing in me? And you have to say, yes, I'm worth it, because the more you invest in yourself, the better you're going to do in the long run. Every successful person invests in themselves. And I can tell you that the more successful that they become, guess what? The more they invest in themselves. They spend even more money on coaching, on personal development. So you really need to invest in yourself, because in the end, in most of these industries, whether it's coaching, network marketing, entrepreneurship, having your own business, it's again, these things are relationship businesses, and people invest in you. They're gonna like you for who you are. And here's the thing: the more you invest yourself, the better you develop yourself. The more you can help people, the more value you can give to people, because people want to know, ultimately, can you help me? Can you solve my problems? And if you develop yourself, you invest in yourself, you're going to be able to solve many more problems for other people, because that's all they care about. People, there's a saying: people, when they buy a drill, they're not buying the drill, they're buying the hole that the drill can make for them. They want to know, can you make that hole for me and help me out?
I love that. The more you invest in yourself, the more you'll be able to help more people and solve more problems.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, 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 really great stuff. So I totally 100% agree with that. I mean, there's so much there. What you said is makes a lot of sense. And even comparing it to investing in stock, and people invest in all kinds of things, but what's better than investing in yourself, right? So and that's also, if CEOs are averaging 5 books a month and they're constantly investing in themselves, success leaves clues, right? So let's
Mm-hmm.
follow what they're doing. I mean, I read recently, I mean, talking about LeBron James, he just became the all-time scoring king. I think I read somewhere where he spends, I'm probably getting this wrong, $1 million or maybe $2 million a year on just his own health and fitness and wellness, his wellness care, basically. And you can kind of believe it, because he's had such a long career, and he's been very healthy almost his entire career. He's been rarely even injured. So he's 38 years old. He's leading the league in scoring. It's unbelievable, and it's obviously he's doing something right to his body, and he's investing in himself. Now that's more of a fitness wellness type thing, but it's still, that's his profession. That's his profession. So I totally
Mm-hmm.
agree with everything that you're saying there. What are a few great tips for being successful? Figured I'd ask a success coach.
Yeah.
What are some tips to being successful?
Yeah, number one, it starts with mindset. You really need to work on the things, the 6 inches between your two ears. You need to work on it every single day. Work on your personal development, like we talked about before. You know, read the books, watch the videos. Surround yourself with successful people. Who you surround yourself with, it is extremely important. Jim Rohn, who was a successful businessman and entrepreneur, used to say, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So you got to look at who you are with. And if the people are very negative and drag you down, you need to get a new group of friends, a new circle. So that is something very important. Here's the thing, especially if you're a business owner and entrepreneur, when you get started, there are going to be some rough times. And if the people around you are going to say, it's not worth it, you should just go back to what you were doing before, you're much more likely to give up. But if you surround yourself with people who've been successful, and they can just give you advice on how you can improve, they'll tell you not to give up. Just keep going, keep persisting. It'll make a big difference. And that's another thing. Persistence is huge. Napoleon Hill talks about this in Think and Grow Rich. The people that are persistent will not give up. And sometimes, like he talks about, this person gave up 3 feet from the gold, and then he sold that equipment and that land to another guy who got a civil engineer who did some analysis and found out if he had gone 3 feet further, he would have found all this gold. And he lost all this gold because he gave up just 3 feet. And then that guy learned that lesson, and then he became an extremely successful insurance salesman. So a lot of times people give up right before they're about to hit success. That's why there's a lot of adversity you come across. But if you keep persevering and not give up, you will eventually become successful. So that's important. Again, I talked about consistency before. That is extremely important. I think meditation is something that's really important, because you get a lot of creative ideas, and it makes your brain function a lot better. And Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, did a survey many years ago, and he surveyed the top people in all kinds of different professions and fields. And one thing he discovered from the answers he got was 90% of them did some form of meditation or morning mindfulness every single day. So he says you really should consider meditation or some sort of morning mindfulness exercise. I think visualization is something really important because you visualize the kind of life that you want. Now, here's the thing, your brain cannot tell the difference between a real event or an imagined event. So if you're imagining a successful career, what happens is there's structural tension in your subconscious mind between the kind of life that you have and the kind of life that you want. And the subconscious mind, which is so powerful, will go to work to find ways to get you that life that you want. So many successful people engage in some sort of visualization. And you got to figure out what kind of life that you want. Be clear on what you want. A lot of people are vague in their goals and their desires. You can't just say, I want more money.
Right.
Because I could give you a quarter, that's more money. Are you happy? Most people are going to say, of course not. You're going to say, what do you want? I want 100,000 for this year. I want $1 million this year. You got to figure out what is it that you exactly want. Have a certain definite amount. That is so important because your subconscious mind will respond to definite numbers. So when you make goals, and again, it's got to have a deadline by a certain date. And then, here's the thing, we work better with deadlines. Because you ever notice that when you're about to go on vacation, you get everything done at work?
So much time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So stressful, so much time.
Yeah. So deadlines are very important. Be very focused. Focus on one task at a time. Multitasking does not work. The studies have shown it does not work because you think you're doing several tasks at once, but what you're really doing is you're going back and forth between tasks, and it makes you a lot less productive. So focus on one task. You'll get a lot more done. Once you finish the first task, go to the second task. You can think of it this way. You take a magnifying glass. If you move it around a piece of paper, the hole will never burn through the paper. But if you leave that magnifying glass on one point on the paper, the sun will go through it, it will burn a hole. That is the power of focus. Follow one course until successful. So again, try to avoid multitasking. Focus on one task at a time. You get a lot more done. And here's the other thing. When you go do several tasks at once, you lose the momentum from the first task when you switch to the second task, and then you go to the third task, and you try to go back to the first task, guess what? You got to rebuild that momentum again.
Right.
So you lose momentum, you go all over the place. Again, get a mentor. Another thing you could do is act as if you're already successful. That is something that's very powerful because you feel like you're already successful. It's incredible. Your subconscious mind starts believing it after a while. Another thing is celebrate all your little victories. A lot of people think they're not successful unless they have a mansion in Beverly Hills. They have a Rolls Royce. They're making $10 million. But you have a lot of little successes at your work. So look, if you just started a business and you got your first 2 clients, celebrate it. Right. If you got some leads for your business, celebrate. Any little thing that's making your business grow, celebrate. And here's the thing, keep a victory log because maybe a year from now you're going through tough times, but you look through your victory log and you look at all these victories you had 6, 7, 8 months ago, you realize, oh, I can succeed because I had all these successes. A lot of times people forget about the successes. So right. Keep a victory log. It is very, very powerful. So those are just some successes I could recommend.
There's a lot. You gave me a ton right there. There's a lot. Mindset, surrounding yourself with successful people. Persistence is huge. Meditation, visualizations. Don't multitask. I mean, you just like opened wide up there. And I did want to ask you a few questions since this is, with fitness mostly, about your health and wellness business. Like, tell me a little bit about that. Do you have clients online, or are they all in person, or are they all online?
I have both. And basically is one of the things a lot of people don't take care of themselves. A lot of people are vitamin and mineral deficient. It's a big cause of a lot of illnesses. So I also teach people to supplement because unfortunately one of the problems with our diet is the foods that we eat right now don't have the nutrition that they had 100 years ago. So no matter how healthy a diet you have, for example, you're not going to get all the nutrition from your diet. So I teach them and I send people free health evaluations, and I can see where they're lacking. Maybe their blood sugar is too high, or maybe they're lacking in something else, and then I can recommend to them what they need to help improve themselves. Right. Yeah.
So how do you get your clients? What do you use for client attraction?
Number one, word of mouth. When you help people, that always helps. And I'm on social media all the time. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of times I look to people who are dealing with health issues. So I ask them about it. So to me, the number one thing is I just go online and talk to people. I also am about to start a podcast. I haven't started yet, but and some of the things I'll be talking about would be the health and wellness issues. So I think I'm going to start creating more content as well. But primarily, I just talk to people online and also through
Like
friends.
in different like Facebook groups and such like that, or just
Facebook groups. Yeah, there's a lot of health and wellness groups on Facebook. LinkedIn is also very powerful. There are a lot of people on it.
yeah.
And one thing about LinkedIn is there are a lot of people on LinkedIn tend to have more money than people on Facebook. So if you're looking to get clients, you should definitely also take a look at LinkedIn. Because a lot of times you're dealing
so
with
you just like start cold DMing people basically and just start talking to them if they're in like a group? Is that how you do it exactly?
that's one of the things. Yeah, you start developing relationships with people. One thing to avoid is, and people do this a lot on LinkedIn, don't just go straight out saying, "Hey, you want to get healthier? You want to, or if you have a business, you want to make money." You go straight out there, people are just gonna like ignore you because people are being pitched all the time. So it's very important for people to get to know you because when they know, like, and trust you, they're more willing to invest in you. And you got to understand that it starts with relationships. You go straight out, say, "Hey, you want to get healthy? I have this great program I can help you with." They're going to ignore you. They may curse you out. They may block you. So it's really important to develop relationship because this is the thing. Think of it this way: if a man goes up to a woman he just met, and a minute later he asks her to marry him, she's not going to say yes because she doesn't know the guy. She needs to get to know him first. So same thing when you're talking to people on social media. You need to build a relationship. You need to give them a lot of value, a lot of a lot of good value that can help them with their health, advice. Once they feel they can trust you, because here's the thing: people need to feel secure that you can help them, that you can solve their problems. They need that certainty because if they don't have that certainty, they will just not work with you. So
Right.
you have to demonstrate that to them. And relationships are very important.
Well, this was a really great interview. You've given us like an absolute treasure trove worth of advice. Everything from just a quick recap. Your network is your net worth. Take 100% responsibility, right? Take 100% responsibility for your actions. Don't look outward, really. Event plus response equals outcome is really, really, really good. The more you invest in yourself, the better. What was the rest of that? The more you invest, there was something you said there that was really poignant. I thought the more you invest in yourself is the better.
Think of yourself as a stock. You invest in a stock because you think it's worth investing. You got to think of yourself as a prized piece of stock.
Right.
The best investment you can make is in yourself because you can just help and serve so many more people when you develop yourself and invest in yourself.
Right.
You
the
can
more you
help.
invest in yourself, the more you could. I think he said something like you could develop yourself. I think it was something like
Exactly.
that.
You develop yourself, you become better, and the better you become, the more people you can help.
More people you can help because more problems you can solve. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And then there's all the stuff regarding like how to become successful. It starts with the mindset. Surround yourself with successful people. Persistence is enormous. Meditation is important. Visualizations. Don't multitask. Don't multitask. And then the last thing I think you were saying was, develop relationships first. Don't just go in and, ask the date to come. You want to just, you want to like develop the relationship first before you go any further. So that's all I think really great advice.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it. Good luck on starting your podcast and with all your continued success.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on the show. Have yourself a great day.
You too. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep.